Watch the ride.
Hey everybody, sorry if I sound a bit weird again, still this virus is kicking in. But I wanted to go back to a subject I talked about a few years ago and it gets talked a lot about nowadays. And I think my opinion has changed slightly since before, basically because I think I was a little naive in the past. And it's simply to do with, is a 50cc safe on the UK roads? Now a lot of guys, girls, whatevers, get a CBT at 16, get a 50cc pedal motorcycle which is limited to 28 miles an hour, and people suggest that they should be allowed to have 125s because a 50 is just not safe, especially as they limit the speed to 28 miles an hour. Yeah, I know everyone restricts their peds, blah blah blah, but if you do that you can get in quite a bit of crap. You might think that no one will catch it. It has happened, I know of it, but whatever, I can understand why people do it. And I have said in the past, screw this, and I have said in the past that I think the bare minimum you need for all of UK's roads is a 125, because it can do the dual carriageways at 70, it can do motorways, it can't do it for long, but it can do 70, so at least you're going close to the speed. You can take a 28 mile an hour restricted ped onto a 70 mile an hour road, and people have done that and died because of it. That's what the last video I was talking about. It was a girl that basically got hit. Oh, come on, I'm not doing the whole video at the bloody lights. I might be spending the rest of my life at these lights at this rate. Come on.
Hello everybody. I've been sat here for 40 years. I've seen many things happen. The workmen are still there though. They're still on a break apparently.
Freedom! If you live in a town or a city and you go on 30-40 mile an hour roads, I think, you know, a 50cc ped's motorbike, whatever, 50cc will be absolutely fine. You know, it's not the quickest, but if they are nippy, they accelerate quite quickly, as in to get up a bit faster than cars normally, so you can get up to the front of traffic and get away slightly, I assume. They seem to be reasonably capable in town and that sort of thing, cheap and economical and everything fantastic. Put them on a 40 mile an hour road, well, it depends how long you're on that road for as to how bad it's going to start to become. One thing that a lot of riders fall into is sitting in the left hand side of the road, allowing people to overtake them dangerously. And that's something that a lot of people say is, oh well, I get overtaken very dangerously because I'm only going 30 miles an hour and everyone else wants to do 40. Well, if you're in the middle of the road, they have to go into the other side of the road to overtake you, which generally will make it a safe overtake. However, I do agree, a lot of people will get very close to you on purpose just to try and intimidate you to move out of the way. And as I say, the idea of bringing a 50cc ped onto a dual carriageway like this is just I know you can, but don't, if you can avoid it. I mean, look, I'm doing 46 here, they're still flying past me. You know, your average 125, 60, 70 mile an hour, I'm doing 60 now and I'm keeping up with traffic. See why it's safer? Imagine doing half this speed. Now, as I say, because of that, a lot of people say, well, then what they should do is allow 16-year-olds to get on 125s rather than having to wait till they're 17. And I agreed with that in the past, but actually it's complete wishful thinking. It's never going to happen. And I'm sorry to say that. I know a lot of people might even dislike this video because I'm telling them something that they hope might happen. It won't. Bikes are always held to the same sort of standards as cars. That's why we have the size of number plate we have, because a car's number plate is like that. There's lots of things like that, but if you think about it, what can you do at 16 with a car? You can't drive, can you? You have to wait till you're 17 to get a car. Now, your first car is normally a 1 litre. The performance between a 1 litre little car and a 125 is possibly comparable. I mean, not top speed necessarily, but I know some of my friends had little 1.1s and they barely do 85. And some 125s could just about grab that, so yeah, it's not that unreasonable to have a 125 at 17. So rather than seeing yourself at a disadvantage for being 16 and only on a 50, consider yourself this. If you were 16 and didn't want to ride a bike, you'd still be on the bus. Well, that isn't actually technically true. Because I discovered, well, I think this is something that was just added into law a while ago, basically, on your license, if you've got AM on there, you can drive a micro car, or otherwise known as a quadricycle. They're these tiny little cars. They're a bit like Japanese K cars, but they've got tiny little engines in them, and they do about 35 mile an hour. So, you know, if you lived in town, again, would be absolutely awesome. Really cheap, really small. I'm sure they don't use a lot of fuel. You can stay dry and warm relatively. They're quite cool little things. And as I say, as it turns out, if you have the AM license on your back of your license, you can drive one of these on the road. I have not got a car license. I am not allowed to drive a car on the road, but I can drive a micro car, or as I say, a quadricycle. But I can't drive a quad bike. And that's just another one of those weird things, that you need a car license to drive a quad, but with a motorcycle license you can drive one of these quadricycles or microcars. And as I say, you can do that at 16, so it is pretty comparable to your 50cc scooter. So when you're 16, you're saying it's so unfair that I'm not allowed in a 125. Equally, your 16-year-old brethren, sister-in, whatever-in, are only allowed a car that does about 35. And it's tiny, and it's a toy, and they're very plasticky. But they actually look, I really like them. I think they're quite cool. I mean, it would be so funny if I actually managed to ever get hold of one of these. I don't think I'd fit in it. I'd have to take all the seats out and just put one in the middle. So as I say, I completely agree that, you know, 50s are a bit dodgy, depending on where you use them. But I can equally understand why they are that way. It's in line with the cars, and they're going to generally keep you that way. And sadly, the most likely thing to happen with the CBT in the next 10-15 years is not them going, well, let 16s have 125s and we'll let 17s have 250s because that's better. Because that's what a lot of people on CBT say. It's always, I wish I could get a 250 or instead of a 125. You know, it used to be a 250 on the CBT. Why can't we have that now? Partially because there's more cars and people on the road. I mean, all those sorts of things. And equally, I think, because the 250s of the day weren't as quick as the 125s of now. Correct me if I'm wrong. I may be very wrong there, but obviously not all the 250s, but a lot of them were not exactly staggeringly powerful for the 250cc's of displacement. I say, unfortunately, what's more likely to happen is they will abolish the CBT altogether, because it's a very easy way to get onto the road. There was even an article in the Daily Mail that a subscriber of mine told me about, that basically was saying how the CBT was a loophole that was allowing all these hundreds of people to get on scooters and stuff with very little, only 1 day's training and be out on the road. It's dangerous, you know, and they literally called it a loophole. It's not considered a right by many, it's considered a loophole. I mean, they'll get more money out of it, but I don't think it's actually the money driving machine. I don't think that's what made them change the rules, like with the A2. I think it was to try. The problem you have to remember, every law is made for the worst case scenario, for the worst driver on the road. You know, we could a lot of us could quite easily drive at 40, 45 in it. All the 30s we drive in, be no problem. But unfortunately, some people struggle to drive at 30 and still keep control of their car, and that's who they have to make the laws for. It's a bit of a silly argument, but Jeremy Clarkson did have a similar thing that he said, well, if you're in a car that can brake in half the distance that's required, does that mean you can go twice as fast? Well, that doesn't work out, because its braking distance is actually, it's increased, it's squared or something, because like the faster you go, the further it takes them. It's exponential, like basically stopping at twice the speed takes like 4 times as long to stop. It doesn't work out evenly. But whatever, I'm going off a tangent there. Okay, well, I have right of way here, but you're going to do that, yeah. Yeah, see? This is what we call defensive riding. You just keep to the middle of your lane and don't let them. Thank you. Holding your lane, sticking to the middle of it, even if it pisses people off, is safer, because if something happens, it's far more likely for the insurance to go, it's their fault. If you're hit from behind, it's no question. If you're hit from the side, it gets questionable. Do not invite people to overtake you in your own lane. That's what you're doing when you stick to that left-hand side. When you're just riding here, you are literally just giving them a space to get past you. And I know most people do it because they keep getting terrorised by drivers. But because there definitely is a thing that if you ride with L plates, you get bullied around the road more. People just do it. I've noticed it. So if you're one of the people who's 16 or 17 and you're a bit dissatisfied with the CBT and you're like, oh man, I wish it could be bigger. Look, it's 2 years. When you pass that, get your A2, or 3 years, if you're 16. Just get your A2, get yourself an A2 bike, and you're all good. It's just a couple of years of dealing with the smaller CCs. Now, I absolutely love 125s, but I can understand the frustration, because if they were just a little bit more powerful, they'd just be that little bit more comfortable doing 70 on the motorway, it would be so much better. Which is why people are like, oh, we should be allowed to have 200, 250s, you know? As I say, my naivety before was to think that they would do something to benefit bikes because it was illogical and made sense, and that's just not the way that the bike laws work. They generally are for the benefit of safety in general, even if that sucks for 99% of the people, because you're having to, you know, having to only have the allowances that 1% of dullards get. You know, like, Jesus Christ, don't give them something more powerful. They're the ones that are the rules are being made for, not for you guys or girls who are actually, you know, competent good riders who could deal with a 125 to 16. I'd love to know your opinion on this, and as I say, I'm completely with you on it. When you say like you're 16 or 17 and you say, I wish I had something big, I totally get it, and I do agree with you, it would be cool if they did, but I'm sorry to say, they won't. And you know, the last set of changes was in 2013. It's probably not that long before they think about changing. We already know, because I have a video talking about the proposed changes to the CBT. You know, like adding on the theory and making it harder. It feels like they're bringing the CBT closer up to what like the A1 test would be. And so, you know, once you get it close enough, then you could just get rid of the CBT and it wouldn't seem like such a bad deal. People would be pissed off, but it wouldn't be such a difference. So if you've got an opinion, a story, anything to add to that, please do. If you've ever driven a microcar or a quadricycle type, you know, thing on the AM licence for your licence, let us know what they're like. Because as I say, I can imagine in a town, like if you lived on this island, you didn't leave this island, that would be awesome, because most of the roads here are 30, the fastest ones are 40. And you know, I'm on a 600 and I'm doing 28 mile an hour and I don't want to go any faster because, well, the road for some reason is a car park and we're all going down the middle. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thanks for the support, people, recently. It is very much appreciated. And I'll catch you all next time. Oh yeah, and if you're not subscribed, click subscribe. And I have a playlist for new riders. This will go into it probably, just as he's talking about the subject. But there is loads of stuff in there, from how to ride a bike, from how to do your mod 1, mod 2, things to know about buying second-hand bikes, how to drive a bike slowly, how to do, you know, all that sort of stuff that that playlist, the idea of it is that if you watch it from, you know, watch all the videos that are relevant for you, you will have a much better understanding and idea of what's expected of you. And ooh, I thought that was going to fly at me, pigeon. And the things that you know that you're required to do. It just might give you a bit more information to make you a bit more clued up. And I've had thanks from, you know, probably hundreds of people at this point saying thank you, these really did help me get through my test. I'm very, very often on those videos, like getting messages from people saying, oh, I'm just about to do my test, thanks for the video. And I'm like, oh cool, let me know. And then they're like, yeah, I've passed. And it's really cool to see all those stories of people using the videos to help them learn and get themselves onto whatever size motorcycle they can. So there you go. Bye bye. If you enjoyed this video and the other content on the channel, please consider following the links in the description to show your support.